What's up, Eagles Nation? It is now past our game from week 5 and week 6. Apologies, I couldn't make a video after the Carolina game and before the Tampa Bay Thursday night game. But obviously, you know, uh, the Panther game was a win. The Buccaneer game, not very surprisingly, was a loss. Um, Listen, I said I've said this numerous times, and it's very true. I mean, this season really isn't about the wins and losses. This season wasn't really about success or not, or playoffs or what have you. I didn't expect this to be a playoff type season, um, because it was more about the evaluation of this young coaching staff, of this young quarterback that we have, and through 6 games, yeah, I probably feel the same as the majority. Um, I'm not very impressed by this coaching staff, and I know it's still look. It's through 6 games. Is it really fair to judge through 6 games? In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I think when you look at the head coach Nick Sirianni, who's supposed to be an offensive minded coach who comes in with at least that kind of rapport from the other teams that he was an assistant with, this bright young mind and, yada yada. And who really knows? I mean, there's been many a coach in the past that's gone through other teams that it came in and it's always the same. It's the fluff, right? It's the he's this brilliant mind, he's this, he's that. And then the team wins like 2 games and they get rid of him after a year, right? It's happened before. There have been, one and done coaches before. Not so much here in Philly, but with other organizations, there has been. What was it just recently? Just a few years ago, the Cardinals had a head coach there, and he was gone after 1 year. And now they're with the coach that's been there since. They're rocking and rolling right now, right? They have one of the best record in the league right now. I believe they're 5-0 coming into this week's game against Cleveland, and their offense looks like a juggernaut at this point. And they have a good young quarterback and pieces. And speaking of the Cardinals, and speaking of obviously that organization, shout out to Zach Ertz. Of course, the Eagles made the move. It wasn't overly surprising that they were going to move him. It is kind of surprising it didn't happen before the season, but obviously in season trade with the Cardinals. Uh, Zach Ertz is now a Arizona Cardinal, and I wish him nothing but success with that organization. He was a huge part of this organization for this franchise since he was drafted. One of the best tight ends that the team's ever had. Big contributor in Super Bowl 52, as we remember him scoring the go-ahead touchdown and making big plays in that game, and just being a model athlete in this town for a number of years, and he loved it here. And I believe he will make a home here when his playing days are done. Him and his wife Julie both still love the area, big fans of this area, and I believe they'll make a home here when all is said and done. But thank you to Zach for those great seasons, and thank you to him. Obviously, all the players who were part of that Super Bowl 52 team, but that touchdown and going ahead, in that game at that moment, will something that will always be remembered. And he'll always be remembered here, and he'll be one of those forever Eagles, and I'm sure at some point he'll probably be in the Eagles Hall of Fame, be one of their Hall of Fame guys, that gets celebrated many years from now, and deservedly so. He was a steady tight end. I mean, he wasn't great for the yards after catch. But he was a steady tight end, and he was a really good player for a number of years, and I do hope he has success with those undefeated Cardinals, and we'll see him in that Cardinal red, which is gonna be weird. It's always weird to see a player when you just identify with that player with this city or another city, and then he goes to another team, and you're like, yeah, that looks a little different in that other uniform. Excuse me, but it is true. Listen, that's part of the game. There's trades. There's players that you feel a big part of the franchise, and then they move on, and that's always the tough part of this business. But it is a business after all, so that's something we always have to remember. But getting back to the topic at hand, which would be Sirianni, and the coaching staff as a whole, just not very impressed. And listen, people are already calling for his head. People are already saying, "Oh, get rid of him, get rid of him." Listen, I know in this town we're certainly very quick to judge. But I've said this about football. It's a reactionatory sport, and because it's once a week, you're going to have this game, and you're going to have, you're going to take these notes down about the game and what went right, what went wrong, why did things happen the way they did. And at the end of the day, a lot of the finger pointing, a lot of the attention goes to the coach, right? Goes to the head coach, the coaching staff, the quarterback. That's how it works in football, right? That's where all the attention goes. And particularly when you have a young coaching staff and a young quarterback, there's going to be mistakes. And I'm not going to overlook that and say, well, you know, there shouldn't be mistakes, because there's going to be, right? There's a learning curve. But all that being said, he's not been very impressive. And it's not just, again, I'm not evaluating this season with the wins and losses. I'm evaluating with what I'm seeing on the field. And this is an offense right now that just looks lost. And there's no rhythm. There really isn't an identity. I think that's a word that's been thrown around a lot, and rightfully so. What is the identity of this team? We really don't know what it is. I think they're trying to, in a way, they're trying to make Jalen Hurts into something he's not. Um, One of the things that baffles me about this season so far, and about Nick Sirianni and about the coaching staff, is one of the things that he really kept pounding the table about is about um, putting the players in the best, giving the best possible opportunities to have success. Whatever their strengths are, we're going to go with that, and that's going to help improve the play of the team. And to have success, you have to go with the strengths of your personnel, of your players, and make the most of that. Put your players in the best possible positions to have success, right? Work with those strengths. And it's been the opposite um, for Jalen, because Jalen Hurts, listen, all due respect to the guy, he's a rootable guy. He has a great attitude. He has a great heart. He has a great ticker in there, right? He says all the right things. He is athletic, but he doesn't have an NFL arm. He doesn't. Uh, the deep ball is not there. He's not very accurate with the intermediate passing as well. He misses guys open. Has trouble reading a defense. Basically one read and he's running. Listen, he's young. We've seen this with other mobile quarterbacks over the years. We saw this with Lamar Jackson. We saw this with Michael Vick. We saw this with other mobile quarterbacks over the years. Kyler Murray, made mistakes as a young quarterback. Allen made mistakes as a young quarterback in Buffalo. And listen, they improve. But what do those all quarterbacks have that Jalen doesn't have? They all have the strong arm. They can make up for some of those mistakes with that strong arm. Jalen doesn't have that. And what I'm seeing in this offense so far is they're trying to make Jalen just do too much. Too much. Too much passing. And I'm not saying just run the ball 3 yards in a cloud of dust, like the old school, let's just go back to the old school ways. No. But you do have to mix in the run every now and then. Okay? If you're going to run this RPO offense, it only makes sense to run it if you're going to hand the ball off every now and then. If you're not, looking like you're going to hand the ball off to Sanders or to Gainwell or whoever's the running back at that time and pulling the ball back and running with Jalen Hurts. Because you saw what was going on with Tampa Bay, right? Tampa Bay was going to stop Jalen Hurts. They were spying on him. They were not going to allow him to just run all over the field and make plays, right? You have to have a semblance of running the ball. If you're going to run that type of offense, that's what the R and RPO stands for. And it's not just Jalen running, because defense is going to key in on that. They're not even going to worry about Miles. He's not even going to get the ball. Or Gainwell. No, he's not going to get the ball. Why are we worrying about him? Just watch number one. That's the guy, right? Now, not all defenses have the personnel for that, right? But the good ones, they're going to do that. So what happens, right? Drives bogged down. You get lost plays. And even when there's a play to be made, Jalen's missing the throw. And not seeing the wide open receiver. The game against Carolina a few weeks ago, what was it? Watkins was streaking wide open before the end of the first half. Now, it ended on a long field goal by Jake Elliott, but that's a touchdown. If Hurts sees Watkins, that's a touchdown. No one was even covering him. He's wide open. And I think he threw to the sidelines because that was where he just wanted to go with the ball. Again, not surveying the whole field. Again, he's a young quarterback. You're going to make mistakes. I'm not expecting perfection out of him. But I know he doesn't have a strong arm. I don't believe he has an NFL arm. And this is part of the reason why he was drafted in the second round. You had other teams that needed quarterbacks, and he was a decorated quarterback out of college, but the arm was an issue to some, and that's why they went in another direction and drafted another quarterback over Jalen Hurts. Again, I like him. I think that he's a rootable guy. You want to see him win. You feel bad for him. After some of these games, you're like, man. But again, watching that on the field, it's tough. It's tough. And he wants to win so bad, and he tries to make plays. It's like Jalen tries to make every play on the field. And, he doesn't have to. Someone made a comment on Sports Talk Radio this week, and I thought it was a very valid one. They were saying about how Lamar Jackson, when he was young, in his first few seasons in the league, they were running the ball a lot in Baltimore, and they would do these short intermediate passes with the tight ends. Short, dink and dunk almost. Because Lamar was, at that time, still having trouble reading the defenses. Okay, those reads, not surveying the whole field, but they were giving him an offense that catered to that more, where you can, okay, if you're just going to make these reads, here they are. Tight ends, right? Why haven't the Eagles used the tight ends? Right? And I understand now Ertz is on his way to Arizona, but why hasn't Dallas Goedert been involved in the offense? Why wasn't Ertz involved more in the offense before he got traded? All right, if you're going to have these issues with a young quarterback, well, what do you got to do? You got to run the ball. You got to use the tight ends. You got shorter passes, whatever you have to do, right? And they're just not doing that with him. They're asking him to do things. It's unfair to say this. It's almost they're asking him to do things he can't do. He physically can't do. Drive the ball down the field. He's not that type of quarterback. I mean, even on those pass interference calls against Tampa Bay, part of the reason that they were pass interference is because the ball was underthrown. I mean, these are deep throws down the field. He can't make them. And it's a shame because they do have fast, athletic receivers on this team, at least with Watkins. Fast, a speedster, a burner, a deep play, a big play type receiver, a la how Deshaun Jackson was back in the day. But you're not going to get the ball to him down the field. I mean, Jalen Reagor is more than a disappointment at this point, right? So I can't, but even him, he's a receiver that could get downfield, could make a play when he doesn't step out of bounds. Devontae Smith, I don't put Devontae Smith as a burner. I think Devontae Smith is more of one of those really good route running type of receivers, but he can beat you deep if you give him a chance. But he's just one of those more technically sound receivers, right? That just the route running and getting open and such. But even when he's open, he's not getting the ball because Jalen doesn't see him. Again, I'm not listen. I'm not one of those Eagles fans right now that's saying put Minshew in because that defeats the purpose. This season, it is about assessing. It is about the assessment. It is about seeing 17 games and seeing what we have and what we don't have. Because benching Jalen Hurts right now, what's that going to do? You're still going to probably have the same record that you're going to have with Jalen in there or Minshew in there. It won't matter, and that does nothing because Minshew isn't the long-term option here, and I don't know if Jalen is either, but I know it's not Minshew. So putting him in games unless Jalen gets hurt, that makes no bit of sense. Because I don't think the play calling gets better with Minshew out there. I don't think that now some of those throws might be made, but again, Minshew is not the long-term option for this team. He's a backup. Yeah, he had a couple nice games with Jacksonville. Where did Jacksonville go with those games a few years ago, right? Doesn't matter. He's a backup. He had a few week run there. He's a backup. He's not a starter. I'm not saying that to be mean to the guy. His mustache game is nice, but he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's a backup. And I don't know if Jalen Hurts is a starting quarterback in the NFL as well because I don't think he has an NFL arm. And I don't know if he reads the field well enough to do so. Now, again, we've seen him for like 9 games at this point between last season and this season, or however many, maybe 10 games or whatever it was between his starts last season, this season. And it is still a bit unfair to really judge. But I look at that Tampa Bay defense, and listen, Tampa Bay, defending champs, Tom Brady, the GOAT, right? Everything about that, right? But I look at that team, and I look at how thin they are at the cornerback position and in the secondary. I mean, they got Richard Sherman off the heap, right? You're like, oh, we'll get him, right? Because at least he's a veteran, right? Richard Sherman's best days are way behind him, and even he got hurt in the game, right? So he's out. And you're still not making plays down. You're still not making plays with these receivers, right? They can't. Jalen Hurts took until the fourth quarter to get 100 yards passing on that secondary, and their front wasn't getting even that great pressure on him the whole game. You got to be able to eat against that secondary. And look, I mean, defensively, Gannon's defensive schemes, I don't understand. I don't know. I've said this before, and I'm sure I'll say this again. I don't understand what this organizational philosophy is where we just cannot value the linebacker position. It is absolutely atrocious at this point. That they just can't see that you need linebackers in the NFL to have success defensively. The last good linebacker we had, it's unfortunate because he got hurt all the time, was Jordan Hicks. You're going back years. You're going back to the Super Bowl year. And even he got hurt that year. That was the last time we had a playmaking linebacker on this team. And long gone are the days of Trotter and Emmons. And guys like Seth Joyner way back in the day. And this fan base loves a great defense. I mean, look at all the defensive players that we've idolized for years. They've been long gone, and they're still beloved. Whether they wore Kelly green or midnight green. But this philosophy, I don't get it. I do not understand it. And I know they won a Super Bowl believing in this. But where you're just going to put all of your eggs in one basket, where you're going to look at just the defensive line, that's it. We're not going to look at linebacker. We're not going to look at safety. We're not going to look at corner. A corner, we'll just get an overpriced free agent. That's what we'll do. You don't draft these guys. Why don't they draft defensively? They just don't. They never hit on the draft at these guys. Safety, cornerback, linebacker. And linebacker, they just don't want to touch. And it's got to stop. And, you got people saying, well, they're going to have these first-round picks. They're going to go out. They're going to get this linebacker from Georgia. Oh, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. 3 first-round, and probably high first-round picks because they got the Dolphins pick. They may have the Colts pick, and they'll have their own, which is probably going to be within the top 10, I would imagine, at the end of the year. We can say, oh, they'll just draft this linebacker out of Georgia or a couple linebackers out of Georgia or a couple linebackers, big-time linebackers. We could say that as a fan base because it looks good to us, but does it look good to them? They're probably going to get a quarterback again. They're probably going to look offensive line. This is their thinking. This is the thought process. Defensive line, they'll probably go instead of looking at linebacker or safety or corner. I don't know if there's a safety or corner that's really worthy in the top 10 this year. I know there's some linebackers out there. Be nice to be able to draft some impactful playmaking linebackers out there to have going forward. But I don't believe that this is a franchise that's going to do that because they have not put value at that position for years, and year after year, it kills the defense. Guys are riding wide open all game long across the middle. Look, Tom Brady, the GOAT that he is, had a hurt thumb. He's not going deep. He's beating you with the intermediate route over and over. Why? Because he could. Because it was open. Wide open. Antonio Brown, wide open. Fournette, wide open. Over the middle. Dink, dunk, okay, and they're going to get yak yards because no one's going to tackle on this team. They have the worst, this is the absolute worst bunch of tackling that I have ever seen on this defense. You get Singleton being trucked by O.J. Howard. It's embarrassing to watch. Week after week. Guys can't tackle the simple things that you have to be able to do to have a decent defense. They just can't do it. And the middle is just wide. Every game it's just wide open because they have to run this stupid 2-deep defense with the safeties. Well, guess what? If your linebackers aren't playing well enough, maybe you want to bring the safeties up a little bit. Even then, I don't know if it's going to make a difference, to be honest. And yeah, the game got close at the end. The Bucs are going to win that game no matter what. It just already you're behind the 8 ball playing a team like that, and then you try to throw out that pathetic linebacking core when Antonio Brown's just running wide open the whole game. The whole game. No one wants to cover him. And you knew at the end when they made it a game, when it was a 6-point game, and they had a drive where you had to make a stop. Of course they weren't. Third down. Antonio Brown wide open. Okay, here, Tom. Nice. That's easy. I don't understand this defensive scheme. And in a way, listen, they're handcuffed to what they don't have. They don't have linebackers. They don't have great safety play. Cornerbacks have been, even though, listen, Slay and Nelson are coming off a good game against the Panthers. 2 interceptions by Darius Slay and an interception by Nelson to steal the game, right? But you can't just expect that every week. Listen, against the better offenses, this defense gets exposed. They get exposed against not great offenses. But certainly against the better offenses in the league when you've played Dallas, when you've played Kansas City, when you've played Tampa Bay, and even at times against San Francisco. I wouldn't really put that as a great offense, but they had 7-8 minute drives at times during that game. You couldn't get off the field. You couldn't stop them. And in the red zone, you're not holding teams to field goals. It's touchdowns just about every time. That's a problem. And you're not making any adjustments. No adjustments on defense. I understand. Listen, you lose Brandon Graham. That's a big loss on your defensive line. But even with that, you got to be able to make adjustments in game. And Gannon just does not make any adjustments. None. The offenses know how to run it. Well, okay, they're not going to adjust. We're just going to keep doing our thing. They haven't stopped it. They're not showing that they can stop it. So why do we have to change? And offensively, listen, they're just too easy to play against. The opposing defenses know what's coming before it happens, before the ball snap. They know what's coming. There was some talk after the game. Malata said it was almost like they knew what we were going to run before we ran it. Yeah, because it's a very vanilla offense. It's like a preseason offense out there. And again, it goes back to this coaching, certainly Sirianni saying, we're going to use the strengths of these players and we're going to put them in the best possible positions to have success with going what their strengths are. But they haven't done it. Again, it's all fluff for the media. It's easy to say stuff. It's easy to sit up there in front of a microphone and say about what you want to do. Well, then why don't you execute it on the field there, Nick? Why don't we make any adjustments in games? Why don't you see that your quarterback doesn't have a great arm? But you could still run an offense around that. You could still put him in better positions to win games, to have successful drives by mixing in a run every now and then with Miles Sanders, who, listen, Miles, I wouldn't put him as one of the top backs in the league, but he is a guy that can break one every now and then. Has that ability. We're not using him. We're not using Gainwell. Where was Gainwell last week? Why did they put him in mothballs? I mean, I don't know. 3rd and 2, he's one of those backs that just goes right for the hole. The little that I've seen of Gainwell so far this season, he's been impressive when he's been out there. We forget about him? Why aren't we using the tight ends more? Why aren't we making these easier throws for Jalen Hurts? And again, he has to see the receiver. He has to see the tight end. He has to be able to make that read. But why are we not doing these things? Why? You're not putting your players in better positions to succeed. You're putting your players in better positions to fail. And that's a problem. And I know we can all do this overreacting, right? And he should be gone after this season, blah, 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 right? I don't want to be on this stupid hamster wheel. How many coaches are we going to go through? How many quarterbacks are we going to go through until we have that success again? I know it's tough to win. God knows that this fan base knows how difficult it is to win in this league. To win that ultimate goal in this league. We know how difficult that is and what you have to go through. The sacrificing, the luck, the incredible Herculean effort that it can be to finally win one of those Lombardi trophies, right? We know that more than most other fan bases in the league. And I know there's still some out there haven't won it and they're still hoping for it, and I hope they get it. I really do, because I know what that felt like to get it. We know how difficult it is to win. I'm not saying it's an easy thing, but you can have success. You can have building blocks to get to those type of seasons, to do the things that's necessary to do to be a successful organization. And in my mind, through 6 games so far, this has been an absolute travesty. It's been a joke. I said this during the Dallas game. It's like watching a college team playing NFL teams to this point. And a college team that's not Alabama. Okay, even though we have Hurts and Smith and Dickerson. Okay? This is like, so far this is almost like, I don't know. I don't want to say Temple. Shout out to Temple, but I want to say it's like one of those other collegiate teams playing in the NFL. This is the type of thing that you're going to see. I don't know. I don't know. Again, this season to me wasn't about the wins and losses. This really wasn't about success. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect playoffs. I didn't expect double digit wins. I didn't have great expectations going into this year, but what I wanted to see was improvement. I wanted to see how this young coaching staff comes along the way, and we still have to see that. Listen, I'm not going to pull the plug on this thing right now through 6 games. That's unfair. It really is. As poor as it's looked, as bad as it looked, I'm still not going to pull the plug on this thing and say, I can get rid of Sirianni. That's enough of him. No, I want to see, okay? You have 2 road games coming up that are winnable games against a Vegas team that right now is on big time turmoil with the Gruden situation and everything like that. And then you're going to Detroit. Again, in a year that I'm not expecting great things and wins, I want to see how this team looks in those 2 games. I do, because they're winnable games. They're winnable games. Let's see how they fare. And okay, they went through right now. I would say the toughest part of the schedule. Where I'm not assessing this thing with wins and losses. What I'm saying though, you're not playing Tampa. You're not playing a team that was in the Super Bowl last year, like Tampa or Kansas City. You're not even playing Dallas. You're not playing San Francisco. You're not playing any of those teams. Now you got the Raiders. You got the Lions. The Chargers are a good team. You'll see them at the link. It would be nice if we can get a home win. That would be nice. But you got the Chargers coming in after that. You're going to Denver. You got teams that you should at least look good against. If you get some wins, you get some wins. But that like murderer's row of win game after game, that's done with now. Now you're going to go the rest of the season. You're going to have some winnable games. You're going to have some games where if the coaching staff is on point, where if Jalen Hurts can read the field, and I'm not expecting him to throw some deep passes, but at least, look, do the things that he should be able to do to have some success. We're going to have some games that are going to be a little more enjoyable to watch than just this dreck that we've had over the past, right, at least the Tampa game, I would say. The Kansas City game that I was at, where at least, hey, look, the offense was going up and down the field in that game, right? It was a Madden game. The Dallas game was atrocious. That was the worst game so far. The San Francisco game was disappointing because there were situations where they could have scored touchdowns, and they couldn't. They couldn't come away with points. I felt that way after the Kansas City game. I think their offense looked real good in that game, but still they left points on the board in that game. Last week, I know they made it close late, but Tampa. It's just if you went into the season, even in a season without wins and losses, penciling it down, you would probably put that in as an L more than likely. Defending Super Bowl champs, Tom Brady, everything like that, and as it looked when the game was going on, even though they had a shot there at the end, it was like, yeah, this is probably not gonna go well tonight. But again, to me, it's not disappointing with the loss. It's disappointing with what this coaching staff continues to not do week after week. It's disappointing seeing Jalen as handicapped as he could be with that arm, not a very strong arm. There's still plays that he's leaving on the field, and that's not good. But I still want to see if he can recover from that, right? If he can, grow as the season goes on, right? I'm not expecting his arm to mysteriously, become a strong arm unless he has that injury like the kid had in the Rookie of the Year movie, right? With the Cubs and all this, he can throw the ball, right? I'm not expecting that, right? But I do think he can grow as a quarterback in this league this season and progress. But it's up to him and it's up to the coaching staff to allow that to happen. We're going to see. This has been very underwhelming to this point. In a way, can I say I'm surprised with it? No, but also in a way I can say I'm surprised. You don't know what to expect when you have a coach that's never been a head coach, right? You never know. It could go in one of two directions, and right now it's seemingly going in the bad direction. And it's just they can't seem to pull out of it, but pull out of that nosedive. And we're going to see. Listen, we're going to see 2 road games in Vegas, in Detroit over the next couple of weeks. We're going to see. We're going to see what the mental makeup of this team is. And we're going to see if the coaching staff can make adjustments, which to this point they haven't done. And it's been one of the most frustrating things about this season. It's all those fears kind of coming into light. Everyone's saying, they went all young at the coaching staff. I wonder if that was such a good decision. Well, to this point, it doesn't seem it has been. But we're going to see. Again, the assessment is still out there. We still have to utilize the rest of this season. We have to understand as a fan base, and I know it's tough, particularly in this town, when there hasn't been a lot going right? The Phillies haven't made the playoffs in 10 years. The Sixers with the Ben Simmons situation and the fact that they haven't won since '83. The Flyers haven't won a cup since '75. And again, they can't win shootouts. I hate the shoot. Mark, my buddy Mark M knows. I shout out to him with his season of the fan series for the Flyers. He knows my hatred for the shootout, and it's probably because the Flyers suck at them. But I hate the shootout. I hate the fact that games have to come down to a regular season meaningful games where points are on the line has to come down to a skills competition. First of all, the Flyers never seem to have a good shootout goalie. So it's like we're already behind the 8 ball, and then you have the players. I hate this shit. I really do. It just should be overtime until someone scores. 3-on-3, someone scores. That's it. And you can call that a skills competition too, but at least it feels a little more better than the stupid shootout, Anyhow, we'll see. I know Festive is happy the Flyers season is back. That's the team in this town that Festive is the most fanatical about. Maybe it's the orange and black, who knows? But Festive's happy to see the Flyers back, and hey, we'll see what they bring. But it has been since '75, right? And the Eagles, I know, God bless that they won Super Bowl 52, but ever since that, it's been disappointing. It's been, it's been rough, and maybe that's the payoff, right? You finally win one, and then we have to go through 10, 20 years of losing or whatever, all the things that people used to say. Oh, if the Eagles win a Super Bowl, I'll go through 20 years of losing. Now, well, now that we're in that, it's not very fun. Particularly seeing what Dallas is doing. Dallas. Hope they lose at some point. Don't worry. They'll go down in the playoffs as they usually do. But anyhow, it's tough. But like I said, this season more than anything else to me is about assessment. It's about seeing if this coaching staff can grow during the season. And through 6 games, it is still unfair to really say what they're going to be because we don't know. We think we might know at this point, but you still have to go through the rest of the season and see what happens. And look, if it still looks like a hot mess through 17 games, there might be some thinking in the offseason. There really might be. Because it's about progression. Even with Doug, right, and the old regime, you saw progression as the season went on. I know it started really well, then it looked horrible, but as the season ended, you saw the team. They were playing for him. They won some games at the end of that season, and then we all know what happened the next season. Now, do I think Nick Sirianni is going to be a coach holding up the Lombardi next season? I would probably say no at this point, but you never know. It's about progression. It's about seeing if they can make those adjustments that need to be made, that all coaching staffs have to do. Now it's about this one to try to do it. Jalen Hurts, listen, I like the guy. He's a rootable guy. And I hate to say this through 6 going into week 7. I just don't think he's an NFL quarterback. I just don't. I don't think, obviously he doesn't have the arm. Are there things that he can improve on as far as reading defenses, surveying the field, being more accurate a passer with the intermediate passing? Yes, and I believe he can because he has that type of work ethic where I believe he will. But he's never going to have that strong arm. He's never going to have that deep arm that you see the quarterbacks, right? These scrambling mobile quarterbacks. What's the one constant with them? They all have the arm. They can flick that ball, right? They can get out of trouble, and then they're throwing the ball 50 yards down the field to make plays. You see Allen do it in Buffalo. You see Murray do it with the Cardinals. We remember Vic back in the day used to call it the Vic flick, right? Vic would run, and it would be like a flick of the wrist, and that ball is going like 40, 50 yards downfield. It was amazing. It really was. You see Lamar Jackson doing it. Yeah, I mean, quarterbacks that are athletes that are mobile, they've all had that strong arm, though. And that's the thing that's just missing from Jalen, and it's a shame. If you gave him that, if you gave him a stronger arm, he would be a real dynamic quarterback in this league. I have no doubt, because he has the work ethic. He has the heart. He's got the ticker, and he's got the mind to do it, right? But he has those physical limitations with his arm, and it's a shame. It really is. It's a shame. But we're going to see. We're going to see throughout the rest of the season if there are those adjustments that he has to make as a quarterback and the adjustments that the coaching staff has to make if they can make this thing, and this thing can look a little better as the season goes on, because it's been tough sailing at this point. It really has. It really has, and it's a shame, because you want to see better. You want to see better, and this fan base obviously wants to see better and deserves to see better. And we could talk about the Jeffrey Lurie situation. We could talk about, is he just being too, is he pulling too many strings? I mean, that's a discussion we can have another week. There might be some of that going on. That's very true. And if that's the case, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. Because all those years in Dallas, they have had talent. They have had top level talent. But Jera kept getting in the way. Yeah, that's part of the reason why that team hasn't won a Super Bowl since '95. Happy to remind Dallas fans about, right? Haven't even got to an NFC title game since 1995. Again, I'm happy to remind them that, right? But part of that reason is because their owner has been just way too controlling. Right? Jera has been way too controlling. And now if we're having that with Jeffa, Joffrey, Joffrey, right? If we're having that with Jeffrey, that's not good. That's not good. That's not good. You don't want to model yourself after Jera. As much success as they had early, that's not the model. Because as an owner, listen, you have to let your coaching staff and the underlings do those things. He's got to step back and have success. And I think, they won a Super Bowl, and maybe that really, really went way to his head now, and he's even more controlling than ever now. And that, again, that's a problem. That's a big problem. But we can talk about that more another time. I know I've gone on almost 44 minutes now, and we have yet to do the Festive Four, the weekly Festive Four, right? So let's get to that. Festive right now going into this week's play went 3-1 a week ago, right? 11-5 overall. So Festive certainly doing better with the record than the Eagles are doing this season, right? So this week's 4-pack of winners, again, just winners. We're not worrying about point spreads and all that other stuff. You can go on different sites and do that if you want. There's plenty of those sites out there to do that on. But we're just talking about the winners. Just the week. These are just 4 teams that Festive feels are going to win this week's game of slate of NFL games in Week 6. So, first of all, Festive like Cincinnati over Detroit. Maybe something about the orange and black, right? The Festive is very fond of the orange and black teams. So, Cincinnati, sorry, Detroit fans. The Detroit City, the Motor City Kitty Cats are going to drop to 0-6. That's how Festive sees it. Cincinnati gets a win there. Festive also likes Kansas City over the football team as the other winner, the third winner. Festive likes Carolina to rebound after that loss to the Eagles, which we were happy about that win, right, against Carolina. But now Festive likes Carolina to rebound to win against Jake's team, the Minnesota Vikings. Sorry to Jake, but that's how Festive sees it. And Festive, to round it out, to round it out, okay? Because there is that rivalry between Festive and Slim, and Festive knows that Slim's most hated team in the NFL is the Baltimore Ravens. So Festive is picking Baltimore to beat the LA Chargers this week. Just for Slim, Festive's throwing that one in there. Slim is a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan, as we all know. He's a diehard Eagle fan, but he lives in Maryland. He can't stand the Ravens or their fans. So Festive is going pro Raven this week. Just to stick one to Slim there just a little bit. And Festive still does challenge Slim to a pickoff one of these weeks. Right? So Festive's being a little mischievous this week. So Festive picks Baltimore over the LA Chargers. I kind of like the Chargers in that game. I kind of like the Chargers in that. But Festive's liking the Ravens. So we're going to see who wins that one, Festive. We're going to look at it. Mischievous over there. Don't let that face fool you. Festive. But anyhow, just to recap, Festive like Cincinnati over Detroit, Kansas City over Washington, Carolina over Minnesota, and just to get the Slim, Festive likes Baltimore over the Chargers. So that's it for the Festive Four, for the weekly Festive Four. That's it for this week's edition of Season of the Fan. Be back again next week as we lead into that game against Pistols. Right, the first ever trip that the Eagles have to Las Vegas to play a team from Vegas. Okay, so we'll see what happens. Hey, they have a few extra days off, a few extra days of preparation. We're going to see if that helps at all going into that game against the Raiders, who are very much in flux right now, the coach situation, all this stuff, right? We're going to see. We're going to see. But we'll get more into that game next week. You all have a great one, everyone. Enjoy the games today, even though our Eagles already... Yeah, they played and wet the bed again. But, we're going to get past that right now. There should be some good games today. It's going to be enjoyable. I myself am going to go see Halloween Kills, so I look forward to that. My guy Michael out there, right? Both of us debuted in 1978. Just saying. So I'm going to throw in my Michael Myers Haddonfield Slashers jersey, and I'm going to go watch Halloween Kills. I look forward to, of course, Halloween, my favorite holiday. This is my favorite time of year, and we're finally getting into cooler weather, which is good. It was in the 80s yesterday. I'm like, come on, man. I need that October weather. I need it. Like Eagles wins. I need it. Come on. So finally we're in that cooler weather. That crisp fall air is finally here, and Halloween's just a few weeks away. So, looking forward to that as always. And as always, thank you all for watching. You know what you have to do, right? You got to leave those likes. Like. Leave the likes. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Once you do, hit the bell icon so you get alerted to all future content here on this channel. I should have another video out pretty soon. I know, and I apologize. I haven't done a lot with the In the Life series. I'm going to be getting back to that. I do have some pickups I want to show for jerseys and some hats. So that's probably going to be the next video on the channel. But of course, the rest of the season with Season of the Fan and whatever else can be cooked up. We're going to have more In the Life. We're going to have all sorts of stuff. So you don't want to miss it. You want to be alerted to it. So leave that. Hit that bell icon so you get notified to all future content from yours truly. And you might see Festive too every now and then. So anyhow, make sure you do that. And make sure you go over to my good buddies at Views from the Vault and subscribe to them as well. Hit the bell icon so you get notified to their content too. Yours truly does appear on their channel from time to time. We do a weekly sports talk show. We are also going to do some live look-ins to some games. So very exciting stuff. It's been a lot of fun. And it's always a great time to hang there with the fellas there at Views from the Vault. So you want to make sure you always know what's going on in the vault as well. And also make sure to subscribe to all my other wonderful Jersey heads out there. You got Throwback King, Big Slim. You got Resurrection, you got Nostalgia Boy, so many, just too many names to mention all of them. Make sure you go ahead and do that. And you also want to make sure to subscribe to all the different sports content makers out there with their teams. You got Jake with his Vikings, you got Mark with his Flyers, right? All the different content makers that just do week-to-week videos about their teams and the life of a sports fan, which isn't always the easiest. And of course, you have the Bay Area guys, of course, the Bay Area throwback, right? you want to make sure you subscribe to him too, showing all that great stuff from the Bay. And I already mentioned Resurrection, but yeah, those Bays guys, they go heavy. You know, they do. They love their teams, and they always have great content too. And it's going to be very, very interesting. Another NBA season just upon us, and as a collector, as we know, that means more jerseys to go after. That does that. There's going to be a few more ones out there to go after. So, you know, I got to get my Steph Curry jerseys. I got to get my Sixer jerseys. So we're going to see. We're going to hope to have another successful year with getting those jerseys into the mix. All right, everyone. I've gone on for over 50 minutes, but thank you all for joining in once again. A little recap of the last 2 games, and now we're going to take on the Raiders next week in Las Vegas, and we're going to see how that goes. I would imagine there'll be a few Eagle fans at that game, too. I won't be one of them. I'll be here as I normally am. But I know there's going to be quite the Eagle contention going to the Death Star there in Las Vegas. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out next week, but we'll see. Anyhow, thanks again for joining in, and I will see you in the next one. Go Birds, as always. Let's get better, guys. Let's just find a way. All right, I'm going to go.